We are so back. Hi folks, it's me Michaela and welcome back to my channel. It is New Year, going back to an old me, I don't know. But welcome to my wall. You may recognize this from some of my other long form videos, but I started reading my first book of 2026 recently, and by recently I mean like an hour ago. I started reading Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson as my first book of the year. I'm just finished reading like the setup point of this, like I don't know, like less than 40 pages in, and I got the itch to try and solve this mystery. So I am back with the wall, the sticky notes, the spoon, and I am going to try and solve another mystery. I don't know if you know it all, but I feel to myself infamously had a murder board on my living room wall for a year and a half, almost 2 years. This is not going to be quite the same. I cannot be arsed to take that much string and tape off of my wall yet again. That was so much work. So I'm going to do kind of like a pared down version, but I'm still going to try and solve a mystery. And the mystery is going to be solving the murder of Margaret Jet Mason from Not Quite Dead Yet. So in Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson, the premise of this book is it's Halloween. Jet is at like a Halloween like festival kind of thing with her family, the town. She's small town vibe. You kind of get some things established. She goes home Halloween night and she gets brutally attacked, wakes up in the hospital 2 days later and is told that she has a severe brain injury that is going to kill her in 7 days. So she has decided to try and solve her own murder in 7 days. And so am I. I'm also going to try and solve the murder, hopefully in less than 7 days. But I thought it'd be fun to try and solve it here with you. So let's talk a bit about the details of what we know so far. This is really just set up. So, I'm going to talk about some of our initial characters and then think of who might be our initial suspects as options. And then we will kind of leave it there because, I only just started. So obviously we have Jet Mason. And then we also have her family members. So we have her mother, Diane, and we have her father, Scott. Okay, her family has like a construction business. They build really big fancy houses. They have a big fancy house. They seem really well off, well known in the community, la-di-da-di-da. What we learn at the beginning is basically Jet's 27. She's currently living at home with her parents. She's quit law school and is living at home. She has quite like a strained relationship with her mother, not quite a strained relationship with her father. Basically, Diane is very much overbearing mother, why are you not doing anything, make yourself useful, get your life together kind of vibes. Jet in the first chapter of this book, kind of unlikable, but she's also a murder victim, so I guess I won't hate her too much. Her father is like kind of agrees with her mom, but is nicer about it, is kind of the sense I get. Then we also have Margaret's brother, Luke, who is married to Sophia. Now, Sophia is Jet's sister-in-law, but we also discover that she was basically her ex-high school friend. It's not like they're not friends, but they're definitely not friends. Like, again, strained relationship. Jet and Luke seem to like fight a bit. Jet and Sophia also seem to fight a bit. It seems like Jet went away for university, lost contact with her high school friend Sophia, and then Sophia married her brother. Kind of weird. They also have a baby who's named Cameron. I didn't make a post-it for the baby because I don't think the baby killed her. Sorry, don't think the baby is a suspect. So then we also then are introduced to a few other characters. So let's just get that out of the way real quick. So there is JJ Lim. We discover that JJ is Jet's ex-boyfriend. There's like a suggestion that maybe he proposed and she said no. Unclear on the details of that. We're not quite sure how they broke up, but JJ is at the little Halloween festival thing trying to talk to Jet. Says it's like not about them, but she's like doesn't believe him. And then, oh my god, I threw somebody on the floor. But Jet still thinks that he's just trying to talk about them, and she's like, oh, I'm so over it, I don't want to talk about that. Then we have Billy, Billy is Jet's childhood best friend. He lives across the street from her, always has. It kind of like seems like perhaps he has had like a long-term crush on Jet. That's the vibe I'm getting from a singular interaction I read on one page. And like Jet does not feel the same way or is just like in denial about it, possibly both. And then we have Billy's dad, Jack. He is a police officer. Everybody thought that he should become the new chief, some higher position in police. Everybody was like, oh, Jack, you should have been the chief, but he's not. Some random new guy that came to town is the chief. And we learned this from Jerry. These sticky notes are trying to hold on for dear life. So then Jerry, we learned, okay, he is the chair of the board of village trustees, okay? And he's on this board with Jet's mother, Diane. Diane is the vice chair, Jerry's chair. Seems like Diane would prefer that wasn't the case because Diane is a little bit of a control freak and wants to be in charge of everything. And then the final person I have, just like a character that's been introduced to us that could potentially be a suspect, is Andrew Smith. I really don't have any details for this other than at this Halloween festival thing, okay? Andrew, he got really mad, yelled at Jet, basically said he hates her whole family for everything that they've done, and he attacks Billy because Billy is like trying to tell Andrew to go home. We know that Andrew lives next door to Billy from Billy's apartment because obviously Billy does not live at home with his father anymore, so he is no longer across the street, I assume. And then we also learn that Andrew's daughter passed away a year ago. It's basically said in a conversation between Jet and Diane that Andrew's daughter took her own life about a year ago. And so he's at the Halloween festival. He gets drunk. He yells at people. I mean, seems reasonable. Oh, one other thing I will put in here. We also have Reggie. Reggie is a dog. I feel like potentially Reggie might be an important clue to the mystery because basically, like I said, what has happened is that Jet gets home from the Halloween festival thing, okay, by herself. She greets Reggie when she comes inside and is then attacked, okay? And so when she's being attacked, Reggie first is like kind of whining and then he gets all growly, really mad. Then Jet gets smacked a dude on the head. Why did Reggie react this way? I don't know much about Reggie. Did he potentially recognize the person at first? Or what? Like think that we could trust him and then realize the aggression? Who knows? We also know that Billy, okay, he found Jet. So we have like a transcript of a 911 call. We learned that Billy is the one that finds Jet. Why is Billy the one to find Jet? Why is Billy the first in Jet's home and not Jet's parents? Is it because Billy tried to kill her and then immediately regretted it? We don't know. So that's kind of like the established thing that we have right now. We also know there's a Ring camera because Jet looks at it on her way inside. So I'm currently saying anybody who's not related to Jet is a suspect. I have no sense to suspect any of her direct family members yet. In terms of clues, I feel like we need to investigate the Ring doorbell. Surely the doorbell that has a camera would have seen who walked in the house and killed her, so why do we not know who attacked her? How did they get in the house? We also don't know what the weapon was. My hair is in this. We need to figure that out. Clearly, it was probably some form of blunt object. It broke her skull, beat her up, but it's not like she got smacked in the head with an axe. For my current guess of who killed her, I mean, honestly, like right now, I feel like directly they want you to suspect it's the ex-boyfriend, but I almost want to say that I think currently that it might be Billy, because like, how did Billy find her first? Why was Billy going to Margaret's house by himself after he just spoke with her at the festival, didn't say he was coming over? As far as I know, Billy doesn't live across the street anymore because it said that Billy lived in an apartment next to Andrew Smith, but Jack, Billy's dad, lives across the street in a house from the Masons and their big fancy house. So if Billy is living in an apartment next to Andrew Smith, then he's not living with his dad. If he's not living with his dad, then why was he across the street or at Jet's house? Why was he at Jet's house? I don't think this is like actually the case, but in the current moment, I think it's Billy. I think Billy tried to kill Jet for some reason that I'm unsure of at the moment, and then immediately regretted it and called 911. And that's all we're going with. I'm gonna read more of the book, and I'll come back to you when I have some more clues, more suspects, when I have more thoughts, and I'll let you know. Hopefully we can like solve a crime. solve a murder. I have returned and I've now read 100 pages of Not Quite Dead Yet. So I finished reading November 2nd and then I read November 3rd in the book. So I'm now about to start like kind of the third day of investigation since Jet woke up on November 2nd. I was going to do like a daily update like for each day that passed in the book, but I felt like I should finish November 2nd and then do November 3rd together because it kind of felt still very like the initial setup of the book, and it kind of gave a lot of facts but not necessarily a lot of theories, I guess. So anyway, it's what I decided, but like after this I'm thinking I'll do an update daily and then give like my guess at the end of each day with like the clues that we learned. But let's talk about the clues that we learned. Jet leaves the hospital, okay, and goes to the scene of the crime, her home, to see what the police have been saying. We still don't know what the weapon is, but we have learned quite a few things, okay? We have learned that the killer was taller than Jet, but Jet being short, that doesn't really give much. It means that the killer is taller than 5'3" and is right-handed, which also really doesn't narrow it down because a lot of people are taller than 5'3" and right-handed, okay? In terms of the Ring doorbell, we do learn that the Ring doorbell saw nothing, but the back door of the house is usually left unlocked. And it's a small town, so I guess like there's quite a lot of people who could have just like guessed that the back door was unlocked or went to go kill Jet and was like, how lucky the back door is unlocked. But I think it's likely that it's like somebody who either like knows Jet, the family, the house, knows that they tend to leave the back door unlocked. Like it seems like somebody knew something, right? There's like nothing missing from the house, which means that the killer brought the weapon with them and left with it. So they did in fact premeditate this. They did plan ahead for this action. They went there with the intention of attacking Jet. In terms of the attack, we learned that Jet got hit 3 times, twice to the back of the head and then once to the left side of her head after she fell on the floor. And thanks to the Apple Watch she was wearing, we know that the attack happened at 10:46 p.m. So this is kind of like all stuff we learned initially. It kind of gives us like a little bit baseline, but doesn't really lead us to any like exact suspects. I will say like I am taking Billy out of suspect territory just because like I did guess him, but that's just because it was like the beginning and it's like who else could it possibly be, right? So things have really been leaning towards it being JJ. We learn that JJ sent a text to Jet just saying sorry approximately 10 minutes after she was attacked. We also do know that Jet doesn't have her phone. It was stolen by the killer and then was turned off. It was like found at a certain location that currently doesn't seem to have any relevancy. Maybe we'll get more on that, but for the time being, it didn't feel relevant enough to put on the board because I don't even have a map of this town that we're in trying to solve this crime. So me writing like it was found on like River Street near North Street means nothing to me because I know nothing about either River Street, North Street, streets, rivers, or north. So all we know is that sorry text was sent from JJ. We also then find out that there was a $30,000 loan that was taken out in Jet's name. We find this out because she gets mail and the mail is like, your loan payments are late, beesh, time to pay up. And if not, we're going to take your truck because that's the collateral you put on the loan. And she's like, did not do any of that. So somebody else took a $30,000 loan out in Jet's name. It's not linked to her bank account. I feel like we should potentially be able to find out who it is. My suspicions is that it was JJ. I feel like to take a loan out 2 months ago is what we've learned because it's like the first repayment is late, so the loan was taken out 2 months ago. And I think it was when JJ and Jet were still together and that JJ took the loan out in Jet's name, and then that is why he is sorry. That's what he wanted to talk to her about the night of the Halloween fair. I feel like I was calling it a festival in my first update because I could not think of the word fair, but it was a Halloween fair that they were at. Of course, JJ wanted to talk to Jet. She assumed it was about their relationship. He said it's not, it's important. He later sends a text that says sorry. It's like very obvious red herring to JJ, but like it's obviously not JJ because like I do not believe JJ is dumb enough to try and kill Margaret over $30,000 and then text her sorry when the killer stole her phone. I don't think he did that. We also learn that there was a red hair found underneath Jet's body with blood on it, which means that it appeared either before or during the attack and not afterwards with all the police and paramedics around. It's also a synthetic hair. It is from a wig. And we do go to the conclusion that JJ was wearing a red wig at the Halloween fair. Wow, another thing pointing to JJ. It's so clearly not JJ, everybody. Unless that's the biggest twist of the century. It's like everything pointed towards the exact person who did it right from the beginning. But no. The only other person that I remembered, and then the book also later pointed out, that was likely wearing a red wig was Andrew Smith at the Halloween fair. He was wearing a red clown wig, I believe. And as we know, he got in a little kerfuffle with Billy because he was yelling at Jet because he's really mad at Jet's family. Now, it's possible that because Jet was there when Andrew attacked Billy, that the hair just fell on her clothes and then later fell on the floor of her home, and that's where it came from. I don't think Andrew necessarily attacked Jet because we do know that he was drunk at the fair and that Jack escorted him home and then was at the scene of the crime because of the 911 call. So if Jack was bringing Andrew home, then Andrew didn't attack Jet, But it is curious about what his problem is with Margaret and her family, because what we do know is that his daughter took her own life and that he's really mad at the Masons for some reason. Would love to know more. Speaking of dead daughters, we do also know that where am I going to put this? Margaret and Luke had another sister named Emily. All we kind of know is that she died, and it seems to be that she died a while ago because Jet makes this mental thought to herself kind of thing of how she is now older than her older sister ever got to be, and Jet is 27, which means that Emily must have died a few years ago, maybe. We don't know what happened there. So I don't know if Emily is going to have any relevancy to this other than the fact that Diane is just being a crazy person. I mean, it's understandable. She lost a daughter, and now her other daughter is refusing to do this surgery that she thinks she should have to save her life, even though it's 90 something % not going to save her life and instead going to kill her. So I understand why Jet's yeah, no, I'd rather live for 7 days and try and solve my own murder than die 10 minutes ago while I'm asleep on a table. But her mom is finding it really difficult to accept that. And given that she already lost one child, that's a lot to deal with. But also, why are you just fighting with her now instead of spending time with your daughter before she dies? A question. Because of this whole red hair wig scenario, we are going to go and ask Owen, who is the son of chair of the village trustees, Jerry, who was taking pictures the night of the Halloween fair, which means that he will have pictures of anybody who is wearing a red wig. And that's what we're going to do in the morning, and that's where we're at. Yeah, it's I feel we're not really getting too much farther. Everything is pointing towards JJ, and there's not too many other specific clues. We do learn from the Ring doorbell footage that Sophia came to the house twice the afternoon of Halloween. Once she was dropping off cookies, and then she came back an hour later. When asked about it, she said it's because she forgot her phone. She has a baby. Baby brain is a thing. It's quite possible she just forgot her phone. We also see that Luke, okay, he has scraped knuckles. He says he fell down at a construction site while on a job, working. Of course, when you hear scraped knuckles, you think Buddy got in a fight. He did a little punch, punch, jab, jab, hurt himself. Who could Luke have been fighting? Potentially somebody who had something against the Masons in general and then wanted to take it out on Jet. Who knows? So in terms of my current guess, it's still really up in the air, okay? It's clearly not JJ. If it is JJ, I'm gonna eat my words 7 million years from now. I will say possibly Billy is still the best option. I don't know. We do learn that Billy was coming by the house because his father apparently lost his wallet when he was getting Andrew off of Billy. So Jack, the police officer, was restraining Andrew because he was attacking Billy at the Halloween fair, and he apparently dropped his wallet, and then somebody was oh, Billy, your father dropped his wallet. So Billy was okay, I'm gonna go drop it through the mail slot of my father's house. And then when he was across the street, he heard Reggie screaming, and that alerted him to Jet being in the house, and then he went and saved her. Now, the thing is, it's quite possible that Billy is just still lying, and I still think based off of the current evidence we have. My best guess of like who's the killer is based off what we have is still Billy, just because like he could be lying. However, like the footage from the Ring doorbell that we saw of Billy finding Jet feels very like genuine reaction. He's very upset. It seems like Billy is just like a nice guy who's now trying to help Jet solve her own murder. Jet is now staying with Billy in his apartment because she had a big fight with her mother because her mother is like, get the surgery, and Jet is like, oh my god, can I make a single decision in my life? Please leave me alone. So now she is staying with Billy. So I don't like actually think it's Billy, but like if I have to lock in a guess, like Billy's the best I got. Why he would even attack Jet is like, I don't know, like he just got fed up of Jet never coming to see his open mic shows. I don't know, his unrequited love finally got to him. Probably not. But I feel like we're gonna be getting somewhere. Is it possible that like Luke attacked his own sister? Maybe. But again, I don't really see why Luke would attack his sister. Luke is already like in position to take the business over from his father when he retires. He's with Sophia. I don't think Sophia would kill Jet. Like what reason does she have to do that? Again, it's like the motivations haven't really been anywhere, so it's hard to like say, but I would say like in general, our best suspects are JJ, who's clearly the red herring, so it's probably not him. Billy, the close friend. Sophia, the ex-high school best friend, or her brother. But I don't really have good reasons for any of them. So I'm going to read the portion for November 4th, write down some more clues, hopefully get some more theories, and I'll give you a little update when I have that news for you. Okay. Welcome back. It is now nighttime, because even though it's 5:30, the sun set an hour ago. And I've also changed the board around. I felt like it wasn't looking very clear. So I took the time during our break to put it in I think it looks clearer this way. The clues are no longer kind of like meddling with the immediate family who's not meddling with the suspects over here. I feel like it looks better this way, a little more balanced. Also, if you're wondering why I'm wearing like a sweater over a sweater in every single one of these clips, it's because it's January and I live in Canada, so I'm cold. But I have now read November 4th in the book, so we're one more day in and we do have some more clues. So I will say I think the biggest thing is we have found evidence. Okay, Jet and Billy went to see Owen, to see people who were in red wigs on the night of the Halloween fair. We find out obviously there was JJ and Andrew, who I had already thought of before the book ever mentioned it, but it is confirmed that Andrew was also wearing a red wig. And then like an 11-year-old girl, but like it was an 11-year-old girl. Okay, like she's safe. We're not going to put her on the board for suspects. So Jet and Billy then go to talk to Andrew about, well, like where he was. So we know that Jack brought Andrew home, and based off of a text message he sent afterwards, he arrived home like 17 minutes before Jet was attacked, which like technically gives him enough time to get to Jet's house and attack her. However, he was hella drunk. I don't think he managed to do that, my guy. In terms of motive, there's like a little bit of motive there. We find out that Andrew had his daughter Nina, who it was referenced before, she took her own life, and Andrew blames Diane for this because Diane apparently did something that got Nina fired from her job that she loved, and that was like the final straw that pushed her over the edge. I did also make a little sticky note for Emily. Okay, we learned now that Emily died in an accidental drowning when Jet was 10. Emily and Nina were best friends, and Jet overheard apparently her mother talking to her father about how she blames Jet for Emily's death because they were watching Jet win a spelling bee, so Emily was like alone at home and drowned in a pool, like accidentally. Diane is really showing like trash mother behavior in this book, not gonna lie. What we also learned from Andrew is that Nell, okay, he says that Nell, who is the police chief's wife, Police Chief Lou, who's not on the board because he's not a suspect, he's just a guy. But Nell, the chief's wife, Andrew said, is going to be buying Mason Construction from Scott, and that Scott is not leaving it to Luke, as everybody had kind of thought. And then this is later confirmed when Jet talks to Nell, and she says, yeah, I think I am going to buy it from your dad because he says it's unfair to leave it to Luke because he has 2 kids, which is like kind of a weird thing to think of, but whatever. We also learned that Andrew also hates the Masons because Luke offered Andrew a bunch of money and bought his house, and then he tore it down, is now building a new one, and that construction site is on North Street. I said I wasn't going to put any streets here until they were relevant. It's now relevant, okay? The last pinging of Jet's phone was on River Street next to North Street. We find out that on North Street is the work site, the construction site, where Luke is working his big project to try and, really like prove himself to his father, I guess. And this site used to be where Andrew Smith's house was. That means that Jet and Billy then went to the construction site where they just started beating stuff up, and what they found was the murder weapon, which we learned is a hammer that's from a brand called Colby and is only sold in a complete set, and that Mason Constructions does not use this brand. And we also find Jet's phone. And like, this is kind of like all the information that we have for the day. So I think like the phone is a really curious one, because why would the killer need to take Jet's phone? Like, why would the killer need to steal Jet's phone? It must be because Jet's phone has something incriminating on it. What could be incriminating on Jet's phone? It would have to be something from somebody that she knows. And so I don't think it's Andrew. I'm also taking Billy out of here. I'm officially removing Billy from, like, he's not going to be a guest anymore, because I actually have what I think is a decent theory, okay? So what was I saying? The phone. The phone has to be motive. Something has to be on the phone. So I'm really looking forward to reading the next part to find out what the hell is on the phone. What is on the phone? What could possibly be on the phone that is going to be incriminating? My thought is that the red hair from the wig is we just need to ignore it. I was kind of thinking this during it. It's gonna seem like I didn't think it and I read the book and like the book told me, but like I swear I had this thought before the book said it. But the detective also brought it up that like the red hair could have come from anywhere. It didn't necessarily have to happen during the attack and is from the killer. It's quite possible that Luke picked up JJ's wig that was red. Andrew had a like little kerfuffle with Billy and he was wearing a red wig. Or like JJ grabbed Jet's hand. Like there's a lot of places where Jet could have gotten a really cheap red hair from a wig stuck to her body because like it's a cheap red wig. Okay, those things are shedding all the time, I assume. So I'm ignoring the red hair. Okay, we're just ignoring that. I think that the construction site is currently our best piece of evidence because the phone and the hammer were found in the concrete of the foundation that was poured Saturday morning, the morning after Jet was attacked, which means either the killer knew that concrete was being poured the next day, or it just happened to be like coincidence, but like I don't think it was a coincidence, okay? And so that means that somebody who knew about the details of the North Street work site could be our killer. And I think our 2 main suspects for this would be Luke and Sophia, because it's Luke's work site, and then Sophia is Luke's wife, obviously. And Billy says how on the Halloween fair night, Sophia was talking about the project and like mentioned the foundations being poured. So I think there is proof that Sophia knew about the foundations being poured. Now, I don't necessarily think Luke tried to kill Jet because like his motivation would be to like get the business from his father. But like as much as I think he wants the business, like I don't think he's gonna kill his sister over it. That's pretty extreme. We also like learn through Owen's pictures from the Halloween fair that during the Halloween fair, Luke did not have scraped knuckles yet, which means that Luke lied about where he got his scraped knuckles and he did not get them the morning of the fair at work, but instead got them sometime after the fair and either during or after Jet was attacked. So Luke was fighting somebody that night. But Sophia, I think Sophia could have a chance. And so Sophia is my current guess of who tried to kill Jet because she obviously is married to Luke, which means that if Luke gets the business, Sophia also gets the big fancy expensive business. We also know that Sophia and Jet are ex-best friends. Apparently they were best friends in high school. When Jet left for college, Sophia apparently like ghosted her and then married her brother. So it seems like Sophia would have kind of some direct motive for killing Jet. I also think it's quite possible that Sophia would have had something incriminating on Jet's phone because, of course, sister-in-law, ex-friend, would know things, would send text messages, would potentially have sent something on the phone that would be incriminating, hence leading to why the phone was taken in the first place. Because why would the killer take the phone unless the phone had something important on it to prove who the killer was? There is also, I think, the key part of Reggie the dog. Okay, as we know, when Jet was being attacked, Reggie was like whining, and then only when there was like a clear kind of like threat did he start getting like angry and growling and then screaming, which I think means that Reggie at first knew who was in the house, recognized the person, and so wasn't immediately guard dogging and only kind of picked up the bad vibes afterwards. And Reggie, of course, would know Sophia because Sophia would be at the house all the time because Sophia is Jet's sister-in-law. So this is why I'm thinking Sophia is the killer at the present moment. I'm really excited to find out what is on this phone because I think this is going to be very key evidence, because otherwise, why the hell would you take the phone? You would just leave the phone. You don't need the phone unless there's something on the phone. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go find out if something is on the phone. Okay, I will see you probably in the morning. I don't like doing these nighttime shoots, so I guess it does give like a little more like crazy murder mystery board vibes. Do I look like I'm losing my mind yet? So I'm wrong. And I hate that because I felt like Sophia was like a really good option. But then like the book started pointing fingers at Sophia. And when you're only like halfway through a book and the book starts thinking something and it's the same thing you're thinking, it's a pretty clear indication that you're actually thinking wrong. Things that have happened. Jet is talking to Luke. Luke has not gotten the list of Mason construction employees that she's requested yet. He keeps being like busy and forgetting. Kind of suspicious. She looks at his phone because Luke is giving Tylenol to the baby and needs Jet to tell him how much Sophia texted him to whatever. It leads to Jet realizing that Sophia was lying about forgetting her phone at the house on Friday because there's this text message about how much Tylenol to give the baby is on Friday during the time period where Sophia would have clearly not had her phone. And then we also see that later that night at like 10:52, which is like only a few minutes after Jet was attacked, Sophia, she was texting Luke saying, "Call me," which means that they were not together watching Friends on the couch like they said they were on Friday night. And we're kind of like guessing that it's Luke was the one who's not at home and not Sophia. We then go and check more of the Ring doorbell footage. We find that Sophia has been coming to drop baked goods off at the house in July 4th, the end of August for Diane's birthday, and then on Friday, Halloween. Okay, and she does the same thing. She drops off baked goods. She leaves, comes back an hour later. We see that one of the days in July, she drops a pill bottle. It is the pills that Jet has been taking for her kidney disease. Okay, they go to find it. Hers are not tampered with. It is her father, Scott's pills. He's taking the same pills because they have the same kidney disease. Okay, I thought like, honestly, this part of the book I thought was too obvious. Jet immediately thinks Sophia was trying to poison her, but I feel like from the get-go it's pretty obvious that Sophia was actually tampering with Scott's pills because of course Sophia wants Luke to take over the family business. Okay, we find out that Sophia has been replacing Scott's pills with salt. So Jet confronts Sophia about this and Sophia's like, I just wanted him to get more sick so that he's forced to retire. Wild behavior, okay? Because Luke can't wait anymore. Why can't Luke wait? Why does Luke need the business now? Jet then leaves, okay, finds Luke outside the house. He still hasn't gotten that list of names for her. So she's like, what's up with this? Then she tells Luke to ask Sophia about the pills, and then also tells Luke that their father is not going to be leaving the construction business to Luke, but instead is planning to sell it to Nell. And Luke, his reaction is like concerned. How much anger this man has? Concerning levels of anger. But based off of his reaction, we can guess that he did not know this information before now. And it seemed like Sophia also did not know that Luke was not going to get the business. What else that Jet and our good friend Billy did this day was go to see Henry. Henry is JJ's brother. And when they go to see Henry, he is terrified. He pulls a gun when he's opening the door because he doesn't know it's Jet and Billy. okay? He also has like a black eye and like bruised, like he's been beat up. And then when they're talking to him, because the reason they go to talk to Henry is because he was working at the Mason Construction family business, okay? But he had to stop because he was injured. Jet believes that he was injured because he was like drunk and fell off a wall. He was blinded in one eye. He now says that his other eye is also needing surgery. He can't afford it. And then when Jet's like, well, just use the insurance, my man, he's like, I never worked at Mason Construction. I never worked there. And Jet's like, why are you lying? Like, I literally know you worked there. I drove you to work. Why is Henry lying? Who beat Henry up? Question marks, question mark. We also then, okay, I tied these things together. Like after Henry's like, I need the surgery, I'm like, okay, JJ definitely is the one who took out the $30,000 loan, okay, to pay for his brother's expenses. Probably, okay? We also know that the police have now arrested JJ, which means that JJ is not the killer because the police, always wrong, okay? Never trust the police. In crime novels, they never get it right. Unless the police is the main character, then there's hope. But JJ, okay, he's been arrested because the police have linked the $30,000 loan to JJ. And they think that because he's getting overdue, that he probably just probably tried to kill Jet to like cover his tracks. A very obvious thing everybody does. Jet, okay, Billy, they don't believe this. They're like, no, we're still investigating. So they decide to break into Mason Construction, okay, and they discover that Luke, on his computer and other documents, okay, Luke has been committing tax fraud. Henry, and then also another employee, Angie, that Jet knows works there, not on any records for payroll, not on the tax records. It's like very suspicious, very weird. It makes sense why Henry is now claiming, I never worked at Mason Construction. Here's the thing. I think that Luke, with his anger issues, beat up Henry because Henry could get Luke in trouble for all of this tax fraud. Now, the question is like, why is Luke committing tax fraud? Like, why does he need to commit fraud? Like, why the fraud? What is the reasoning for the fraud? Why fraud? Question mark, question mark. While they're at Mason Construction, though, however, the place is on fire. It catches fire, the whole thing's burning down, they almost die, Jet and Billy almost die. Jet's already dying and she's dying again. Like, it's kind of hard week for Jet. And so the place is burned down. The question is if the place has burned down because Luke went to burn it down because he thought that Jet was getting a bit too suspicious about the fraud, or if it's like the murderer saw Jet and Billy go there and then caught on fire in an attempt to kill Jet. Let's see what other things I have. I have a sticky note here for, hold on. Tax fraud goes under Luke. Sophia's no longer my guest, so she's back with her husband. Sophia was replacing the pills. But the thing is that I think all of this replacing the pills to get Scott to retire so Luke would get the business, and then Luke committing the tax fraud so he really needs the business so he can cover up his fraud more. I think all of that is not related to Jet being murdered. I think all of this is just happens to be happening, and like maybe like these events have something to do with Jet being murdered, but I don't think that like they murdered Jet because they're doing this shady business. We also find out when Jet, okay, is talking to Sophia, they get in a fight, okay, about the pills and things. They're like lost friendship from high school, and Sophia brings up Billy's mom. And it's kind of vague, but what we know is that Billy's mom, okay, she's not dead, she's alive, but she left Jack and Billy at some point. And we don't really know the reason why, but Sophia says something that's like, should I tell Billy about you and his mom? Which makes it suggest that Jet did something that caused Billy's mom to run away. Which is like really bizarre because what would Jet have done to Billy's mom? That would make her leave her family. Questions. So I think like at the moment in terms of like what's going on, I have no idea. I feel like I know who's not the killer, but I feel like I have no idea who is the killer. And that's a problem because that's what I'm supposed to be solving right now. One other thing about the fire is that Jet thought when they were escaping the building that she saw like a light up in the sky that she thought was a drone. So I'm going to assume it was a drone, and that was probably Owen, Jerry's son Owen, who has a drone. He was the one who was taking photos at the Halloween fair, and he notoriously was out in the backyard playing with a drone when they went to see Owen for the pictures. So I think Owen was flying his drone over Mason Construction, and he probably has footage of who set the fire. And I think that it's likely Luke set the fire to cover up all of his tax fraud. So the killer's not JJ because he's under arrest for the crime, so it can't be him. It's not Sophia, because she was in fact just poisoning Scott to try and force him to retire. I still don't think it's Billy, unless Billy's like the most amazing actor on earth and is pretending to be in love with Jet and is instead trying to kill her. It's not Billy. It's not Reggie, because he's a dog. I don't think it's Diane or Scott, because I don't think either of these people would kill their daughter after they already lost one of their daughters to a tragic event. That would be insane. I don't think Luke would kill his own sister for the same reasons as like family tragedy. I don't think Luke would do that to his parents. Even if he would do it to Jet, I don't think he would kill Jet because of what it would do to his parents. But I do think that it's likely Luke would go and try and catch Mason Constructions on fire this night because Jet told Luke that his father is going to sell the business to Nell earlier that day. So I think it's likely Luke freaked out that if his father sold the business, his tax fraud would be revealed. So he went to Mason Constructions to set it on fire to cover up all his tax fraud, and then did not know that Jet and Billy were in the building when it was on fire. I think like the Henry, JJ, money, tax fraud, business things, I think all of these people are not actually related to why Jet would be murdered, because Jet had no idea about any of this tax fraud business. So like, why would Jet be the target? It doesn't make any sense. So then maybe we're back to Andrew Smith trying to kill Jet because he got really drunk and then wanted to like hurt Scott and Diane Mason, who own the company that he thinks ruined his life, and like took his daughter to like take their daughter, like eye for an eye business. But I like that doesn't feel very obvious. We did also find like an invoice where they overcharged Jerry on marble for his kitchen construction. So is it possible that like it was Jerry? Did Jerry, the chair of village trustees, find out about the Mason tax fraud and decided to kill Jet as revenge? That doesn't make any sense either. It has to be somebody who was introduced at the beginning of the book, or else I'm going to be really mad. I will be very mad. Like now, she just showed up. She's the wife of the police chief. Okay, like she's not killing people. Why would she do that? That would be absolutely wild behavior, like unhinged behavior. I mean, there is like a weird thing with Diane, with her relationship with Jet, but I don't think she'd kill her. That doesn't really make any sense. I think like at the moment, even though I don't necessarily believe he would do it, that like the best guess I would have would be Luke, because we know he has these anger issues based off of his reaction in the car. And we know that he has motive because Jet found out, of the business selling. He was doing tax fraud. He's trying to cover it up. Maybe he thought Jet already knew about the tax fraud, so he tried to kill her early. I don't know. Like, I don't really believe it, but like, I feel like it's the best option of a guess if I have to guess one right now. I think that like the next day, I think this like Thursday, November 6th is what I'm reading next. I think that is really going to open up a lot of doors for me. It might be the second last or last update before the reveal, I think, because Jet now has the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday left to live before she's like expected to die. The reveal is either going to be on the Friday or the Saturday, I think. So I'm going to read some more and we'll see where it goes. But like, I just don't think it was Luke, but like, I don't see anybody with a better motive than that. Who tried to kill Jet? Who tried to do that? I guess I should also mention Jet's now lost feeling and use of one of her arms. That's not really relevant, but that's happening. And she's also having other like side effects of the aneurysm. So like she's seeing like double and triple and forgetting things and all of that jazz. So that's what's going on here. I feel like we need to find out what's going on with Billy's mom. I have no idea if this is relevant at all. Maybe Billy's mom came back just to kill Jet. Probably not. So I was wrong again, but like I'm not surprised by that because I thought I was wrong with Luke when I put him there. But he had the best motive, so that's why he was my guess. But we have learned that it could not have been Luke because in the Thursday timeline, I feel like not a whole lot happened on Thursday. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, right from the get-go, I currently have no idea who it could have been. But let's just like talk about it. So last we were talking, Jet and Billy, right, escaped a fire barely that I personally think Luke started because Luke heard from Jet that Scott was selling the business to Nell, and because of Luke's tax fraud, Luke panicked, decided to burn down the business to cover his tracks, didn't realize that Jet and Billy were in the building. However, Jet and Billy think that whoever set the fire is the person who tried to kill Jet to begin with. But it was not Luke. And we know it's not Luke because on Thursday morning, Jet and Billy go back to talk to Henry, JJ's brother. This is so complicated. Jet and Billy go to talk to Henry, JJ's brother, because they now know that Luke was committing tax fraud, right? And did not have Henry listed as an employee at Mason Construction. And so they go to talk to Henry and be like, that's why you're saying that you were never an employee. It was Luke. So we find out that Luke could not have killed Jet because at the time that Jet was being attacked, Luke was beating up Henry because Luke has been giving Henry money for his medical bills to try and cover up the fact that Henry doesn't actually have any medical insurance or like workplace compensation things because he was never listed as an employee because Luke was committing tax fraud. So Luke was paying Henry out of pocket and Henry was like, I need more money because he's about to go blind if he doesn't get another surgery. This is why JJ took out the $30,000 loan. Like I said, I was correct with that. JJ took out the $30,000 loan to help pay for Henry's bills, for the medical bills. Welcome to the United States. So glad I don't live there. And so Henry was like, I need more money or else I'm going to go blind. I'll talk to your dad. Luke was like, oh, you will not talk to my dad. And as we know, notoriously, Luke, anger problems, beat up Henry to keep him silent. So Luke could not have attacked Jet. Somebody drilling something right now? Luke could not have attacked Jet because Luke was attacking Henry. Pretty simple. My one big question that I have is like, why the hell was Luke committing tax fraud to begin with? Like, why would he be doing that? What could possibly be going on with Luke that would be like, yeah, I should commit tax fraud? That doesn't make any sense to me. So then they go to the police station, okay? And the police are like, oh my God, Jet, Mason Construction burned down. And like Jet and Billy both had to be like, what? Oh my God, that's shocking. And we were correct that Owen and his drone was driving over, but apparently he didn't really get anything. His drone showed up only like after the fire was going. There was too much smoke. The drone didn't really see anything. But Jerry, Owen's father, right, was bringing the footage. And what we learned from Jerry is that somebody in a town hall meeting, which was on Zoom, showed up like a year ago in a Zoom cat filter and a voice distortion thing to threaten Diane. So then Jet and Billy go home to Billy's apartment and they go back and look at the records because it's all online of the town hall meetings and watch the threat town hall meeting, okay? And they find out from this through details I'm not going to tell you because it's really unimportant, that the threat came from Nina, and it was Nina saying that she knew Diane's secret that only Emily knew before she died. And of course, both Emily and Nina are dead, so we don't know the secret. But what we do know is that Nina only died a year ago. So Billy and Jet decide to break into Andrew Smith's apartment in the hope of finding Nina's laptop. I mean, they stole his keys and went in there. So that's pretty much breaking and entering. But they get Nina's laptop, hack into her Facebook, and based off of the messages with Emily from 2008, it sounds like Diane has a secret that is potentially about Luke, because Emily says something like, I heard them talking about Luke, I'll tell you tomorrow at school. So we don't know what the actual secret was, but we think that there's a secret that Diane is holding that's really big that Emily knew and told Nina, and that is possibly about Luke. Now, what my theory is, Luke is not actually Scott's son, okay? And Emily overheard Diane talking to somebody else, because it couldn't have been Scott, or else somebody in the family other than Diane and Emily would have known the secret, right? Because Scott would have known the secret. We don't know that Scott knows the secret, so we think that it's someone that's not Scott. So Diane, maybe Luke is not Scott's son, and he's somebody else's son, and maybe Scott knows this later, perhaps, because like Emily died 17 years ago, right? So maybe at some other point Scott found out that Luke wasn't his son, and that's why he's selling the business to Nell instead of leaving it to Luke. And then there's also the fact that we learned through the town hall meeting that Jet comes to the conclusion that Diane, when voting for the new police chief, must have voted for Lou, Nell's husband, the police chief of now, instead of Jack, the person that she's known for years. And so this like leaves me some questions. Was Diane having like an affair with Jack, and Luke is Jack's son, potentially. And then what happened with Billy's mom? Apparently Jet did something that she feels really guilty about that like made Billy's mom leave. What could that have possibly been? What could that have possibly been that Billy's mom left because of Jet? Like years ago, like when she was basically a child still, right? Questions, okay, I have them. Like I'm now more confused than ever. Jet did something to Billy's mom that made Billy's mom leave. Diane has some kind of secret. Does that mean that Diane knew about like Nell, the chief's wife, that if they moved they would have bought the business? Did Diane know about the tax fraud? Was Scott knowledgeable of the tax fraud, or was it just Luke doing the tax fraud? Because Diane like isn't really involved in the business, but maybe Diane voted for Lou to get Nell to come to the city so that Nell would buy the business because the business was going under because of the tax. I don't know, guys. Like I'm like so confused. And like then how does all of this come back to Jet? Because like literally what is Jet doing with this business? Nothing. This girl, she's constructing nothing. In terms of like who killed Jet or like who attacked Jet to cause her to die in like a few days, no idea. No idea. It's not Luke. It's not JJ, because as we know, the police have arrested him, so it's not him. I guess like it's possible that it was Sophia again. I don't think it was Andrew Smith, because again, Reggie appeared to recognize the person before they attacked Jet. So like surely he wouldn't have recognized Andrew Smith. They don't really know him. Like at all, right? Andrew Smith would not have been at their house. So like maybe it was Jack. But why would Jack try to kill Jet and then like be the police officer trying to solve her murder, right? That doesn't make any sense either. Like I don't think Scott would have tried to kill his own daughter, okay? He's already dying of kidney disease. Like I don't think that man has it in him at the present moment to be doing that. Would Diane kill her own daughter? That seems a little bit much for Diane. There's also like this weird thing where like Emily died only like a couple days after she told Nina this secret. And like in their Facebook messages, they're like, Nina later was like, oh, have you talked to Mrs. Finney yet? Because Mrs. Finney, Billy's mom, was like a math teacher. And so they're like, is that related to the secret too? And then like kind of suspicious that Emily accidentally drowned. Like a couple days later, there's a sequence about Luke and Emily were at the house together while Diane, Scott, and Jet were at the spelling bee that Jet won. And that's when Emily died. So it's like, are we like maybe trying to suggest that Luke might have killed Emily because of whatever secret this is? And does Luke know the secret? I'm just like, I'm so confused. Like who it has to be somebody we've known for a while. If they come out with some random character as the killer, I'm gonna be so mad. I don't think it's Andrew. I don't think it's Jerry. Owen's a teenager. It's not Nell. She's too new to the town. It's not JJ because he's under arrest. It's not Henry because Henry's being beaten up by Luke. It was not Luke because Luke was beating up Henry. Okay? It's not Diane or Scott because that's her parents and that doesn't make any sense. So then I have Sophia, Billy, and Jack. I just don't think Billy is a good enough actor to basically be in love with Jet, but then also kill her for whatever secret reason about his mom. Did Billy's mom come back to attack Jet for whatever Jet did to Billy's mom to make her leave in the first place? I feel like right now, like the best guess is Billy's mom or back to Sophia. But because we already guessed Sophia was too busy poisoning Scott. I don't think she had time to be killing Jet. She has a baby and she's trying to poison someone that's in her family. Like I think her hands are full. I don't think she could do it. But Sophia also has clear like sort of anger towards Jet, and she threatened Jet to like be like, I'm gonna tell Billy about what you did to Billy's mom. So I guess like maybe my guess is just Billy's mom right now. I don't know if we even know Billy's mom's name, but like I don't remember reading it and I did not go looking for it, so it's just Billy's mom. I'm sure she has a name. I probably just forgot to write it down, but I guess I'm locking in Billy's mom because that's like the best guess I have right now. But I don't like that as a guess because that feels kind of like a cop-out for Billy's mom to just suddenly come back to town and then attack Jet. But that's like the best I got. I have like this weird feeling that the reveal is gonna happen during Friday, like the next part I'm gonna read, but I do not have enough information to be locking in a final guess right now. So I'm gonna keep reading the book and then try and stop before I think any reveal is going to happen to give you one final update and my final guess before we see what the results are. But like that's where I'm at currently with this whole scenario. Yeah, stay tuned. And I really hope the ending of this book does not make me mad for trying to solve it and it ended up being like an impossible solve. We're going to find out. And then like one thing I really need to know, like I desperately need to know why Luke was committing fraud to begin with. Sir, why? Why were you doing that? Okay, I have like 50 pages of this book left and I feel like I wish I didn't read like 4 pages because it hasn't been revealed yet, but I feel like now it's kind of obvious, but like I wasn't right, but I feel like I was on a really close track, guys. Okay, so what happened since my last update was that Jet got arrested is the main thing that happened. Jet and Billy went back to Jet's house. They were going to talk to Diane, okay, Jet's mom, to find out what the secret was. She wasn't there. Instead, they like go to the pool where Emily died. They were like talking about what happened that day, Billy's memory. They go to Billy's house and find Billy's mom's old things and diary to see if there's any notes about what Emily was going to tell Billy's mom. And from what Billy remembered and what Billy's mom said, in that Luke was wet before, we were thinking Luke killed Emily, which is what I said before, guys. I wasn't full 100% believing it, but like I guessed that as an option, right? Okay, so then Jet gets arrested for the arson of the Mason construction building, the warehouse. Okay, she gets arrested, she's in jail. It's because there is a picture of her truck at 11:22. The fire alarm went off at 11:17. The fire trucks arrived at 11:31, and Jet's like, so who sent this picture? Who took the picture? And the police are like, we can't tell you. And it's like, so it was Luke. We find out it was Luke, which I knew. I've been saying Luke caught the place on fire, okay? We do find out that Luke actually did know Jet was there. So I guess he didn't care if she died in a fire. Jet then gets out of jail. Billy, they give each other alibis, so she's out of jail. That was like a temporary thing. She also wrote a bunch of goodbye notes that might become important. Then she goes and confronts Luke, and I was correct. Diane's secret that Emily knew is that Luke is not Scott's son. But it has not been revealed who Luke's dad is yet. However, I think I am correct in thinking that it's Jack Finney. And here is why. So we know that the day Emily died, okay, that Emily was basically telling Luke he's never a Mason. He was never a Mason. He's not a Mason. He doesn't belong in the family, right? Because Emily knows Diane's secret that Luke is not Scott's son. And then Luke, notoriously bad-tempered Luke, okay, anger problem, killed Emily by accident, but you can't just like murder your sister by accident. That's not how that happens, okay? We also find out, okay, before Jet gets arrested, Sophia shows up and then gets mad at Jet because Jet told Luke that Sophia was poisoning their dad, and she's like, I told you not to tell him. How dare you? And it's like, Sophia, get it together. Oh my God. You can't be mad that Jet told her brother that you've been trying to kill his dad, who's not his dad. And Luke knows that. But like, most people don't know that, right? And so Sophia tells Billy that Jet's the reason why Billy's mom left. And also, I have Billy's mom's name. Okay, hold on. So Billy's mom is named Beth. And I don't think she came back to kill Jet. So we're just going to put her back up here. Okay? So Sophia tells Billy, while Jet is there, that Jet went to Beth, Billy's mom, the day that Beth left. She was like asking her to like bump up her grades so that she could get into the university she wanted, because Jet was like basically trying to live Emily's life because she felt she was the reason Emily died because she was winning a spelling bee. Messed up family. And she got her to do it by guilting her about Emily and using the line that Diane always uses, which is like, oh, if Jack came by to check on Emily and Luke while we were out, like I asked, how different could life be, right? And I think that it was not Jet asking Beth to bump up her grade and then her doing it that made her run away. I think what happened is it clicked for her, okay? Because later, when Jet is confronting Luke, he's saying how his dad always looked out for him, and that he doesn't like outwardly say it, but it's basically implied that Luke's real dad, because it's not Scott, set up Emily's death to look like it was an accident when it wasn't. And I think what happened is that when Jet used this if only Jack came by to check, right, on Emily and Luke, how different it'd be. I think it clicked in Beth's mind that Jack did go check on Emily and Luke. I think Jack was there. And I think Jack is Luke's dad, like I thought before. Diane was having an affair with Jack, and that's why she didn't vote for him to be police chief, because she's trying to like distance their relationship of the affair, right? And so when Beth realizes that Jack did go over, okay, to see Emily and Luke, that he must have known Emily was already dead. And she must have figured out, okay, the Jack is Luke's dad triangle scenario, and that is why she left. And so I think that Jack killed Jet. this is going to be like my final answer that I'm locking in, okay? We find out that Luke was doing tax fraud, okay, because the business was going under. He was trying to save money. I think that Jack, being Luke's dad, okay, and knowing this, I think Jack knew that Luke was committing tax fraud, and that when Jet was going to investigate Mason Construction, I think Jack found out and told Luke, and that's why he burned everything down, okay? And I think that Luke killed Emily, but I think Jack killed Jet for Luke, because I think somehow Jack must have thought that for Luke to get the business that Jet needed to die. So I think Jack killed Jet for Luke? Question mark, question mark. It doesn't feel like a great motive, but I feel like that must be the scenario. Like Jack didn't want Jet and the family to find out about Luke's tax fraud, so Jack killed Jet. And that's why Reggie recognized him at first. And then the red hair, right? The red hair comes from Andrew Smith's wig, because Jack, he's the one who took Andrew Smith home and like took Andrew off of Billy when Andrew was fighting Billy at the Halloween fair. So that's where like the red hair would have come from. The red hair from the wig would have come from Andrew Smith on Jack. And that's why it was at the scene of the crime. And then also Jack could have gotten to Jet's house because Jack was the one that brought Andrew Smith home. And as we know, Andrew Smith had 17 minutes to get to Jet's house. Who else would have had 17 minutes or more? Jack. And it's quite possible that Jack owns a hammer. Who doesn't? I think he could have went to his house. Okay, he left Andrew Smith's, and I think maybe Andrew Smith was drunk. He was ranting about how Diane and Luke and all of them ruined his life. And maybe Jack, from hearing all of his drunk ramblings, decided he needed to kill Jet for a specific reason I haven't come up yet. There must be something on Jet's phone that like shows something that is why Jack took the phone. But I think he then went home, got his hammer, killed Jet, and then because Jack knows Luke, that he must have known about the construction site, right? So I think he then dropped everything off at the construction site and then answered the 911 call and showed up and acted like, you know, Mr. Police Officer. And then he's been really nice to Jet ever since, probably because of the guilt of killing her. That's like the best I got. I think that Jack killed Jet for Luke because Luke was committing tax fraud, and Jack is Luke's real father because Diane's secret is that she had an affair with Jack, and because Jack was Luke's father, he protected Luke when he killed Emily. Beth found out, that's why she left. That's why Billy has no mom. It wasn't Jet's fault. Jet, with the language she used when she was talking to Beth, it's what like triggered Beth to like come to the realization that Jack had an affair with Diane and Luke is Jack's son. So that's my guess. I wish I had figured out the motive more. Like, I wish I knew exactly why Jack would kill Jet, but I really feel confident saying that Jack killed Jet. I think this is like the only logical choice because it wasn't Billy. Billy's in love with her. Like, it could not be Billy. It's not Luke because Luke was beating up Henry. It's not Sophia because like somebody had to take care of that baby. And like I said, she was too busy trying to poison Scott, okay? Diane, I don't think would have killed her own daughter. And she was like putting chairs away. Like, she's too upset after her first daughter died, right? Like, that's not gonna happen. Nell and the police chief, even though they like kind of feel a little sketchy, like, I don't think they know anybody enough. Again, Reggie would not have recognized them. Reggie would not have recognized Andrew. Reggie would recognize Jack because Jack's a next door neighbor. He would know him. I knew Reggie was important to this story. So that's what I'm locking in for now. I think Jack must have killed Jet because he thought that would save Luke somehow, and he's been protecting Luke because Luke's his son. That's what I'm going with. I'm gonna read like the actual reveal, see if I'm right about all of the points, but I feel pretty confident. Like I said, I kind of wish I did not read the Jet Luke confrontation because I feel like I kind of gave a little bit too much away, but it didn't really actually give anything away. It didn't actually say who Luke's father is, because I guess it's possible that Luke's father could be like the police chief, but I doubt that. But yeah, okay, there we go. I'll let you guys know if I'm right. BRB, gotta finish the book. So I've finished reading Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson, and all has been revealed. So let's talk about it. So firstly, I want to say that I was mostly 100% correct. There's just like one thing. It was really like the motive, which honestly I still think is like a little odd, but like it does like make sense. So it was Jack who killed Jet, and let's get into it. Jack, okay, was having an affair with Diane. Luke is his son, and he did help Luke after Luke killed Emily to make it look like an accident, okay? But this Emily dying, okay, Diane blames Jack because Diane asked Jack to go over and check on Emily and Luke while Diane, Scott, and Jet were at the spelling bee. But Jack couldn't tell Diane that he did actually go check on Emily and Luke because then he'd have to say that he knew Emily died and that Luke killed her. So he didn't tell her that. So instead, Diane blamed Jack, and that ended their affair after Emily died. So then Jack was no longer with Diane. He lost the love of his life. Then what we find out is that like Beth didn't find out that Jack was having an affair with Diane and Luke was Jack's son, but that instead she likely thought that Jack was with Emily, a 16-year-old girl, and that Jack killed Emily and not that Luke killed Emily. So she left when Jet brought this up because she was afraid that her husband was sleeping with a 16-year-old and then murdered her. Concerning. Because again, Jet told Beth when she was asking to bring the grade up on her math, Jet was like, if only Mr. Finney went by to check on Emily and Luke, how different would it have been? And then Beth was like, he did, and then was like, he killed Emily. And then so that's why she left. So we find out that the night that Jet died, okay, she was attacked because she technically died like 6 days later. But the night she was attacked, Jack was bringing Andrew Smith home after Andrew Smith attacked Billy. Okay, he was all drunk and angry about the Masons ruining everything. Jack brought him home. So he got the red hair from the wig from Andrew. Okay, brought him home. While he was bringing him home, Andrew thought it was really funny to say how he knew that Scott wasn't going to be leaving the business to Luke because it would have been unfair because he had 2 kids and instead was going to sell it to Nell, okay, the wife of the police chief. Also at the Halloween fair, Jack finds out from Jerry that Jerry voted for him for the police chief, and because there's like 5 people on the village trustee board or whatever, and he knew that Jerry voted for him and that his like bestest friend David voted for him, that means that Diane didn't vote for him. So Diane now left him, okay? She also took his job because she voted for Lou, Nell's husband, to be the police chief and not Jack. So he's like kind of angry. Then he finds out from Andrew that Scott isn't even going to leave the business to Luke and is going to sell it to Nell, the wife of the guy who took his job because of Diane. So he gets really angry about this because he's been protecting Luke and he wants Luke to have the business. So because he has a temper the way Luke has a temper, he goes to Billy's house, takes the hammer from the toolkit he bought Billy, goes to kill Jet. That's why Reggie recognized him, why he knew the back door was unlocked, why he knew to avoid the Ring doorbell, okay? Kills Jet, knows that the foundation is being poured at the North Street work site because he goes golfing with Luke every 2 weeks. He gives him advice on the business. He knows what's going on, so he would know that the concrete was being poured to hide the murder weapon, the hammer, and the phone. He took the phone because he's a police officer. He knows he needs to make this look like it was somebody else. Taking the phone makes it seem like maybe it was JJ, maybe it was someone else that Jet knew and would have regular contact with, right? It like provides more suspicion, creates a story, okay? He then just stays away and then waits for the 911 call that Jet was attacked, shows up, acts like policeman. So the end of the book is Jet died before she found out it was Jack that killed her. She died in Billy's arms. How lovely for her. But after the funeral, Billy, okay, he confronts his father with the gun that he borrowed from Henry. He does this while he's on the phone with Luke. So Luke also hears that Jack killed his sister, okay? But then Luke, notorious anger problems and bad temper, he kills Jack, like right in front of Diane, which means that Jack killed her daughter and also helped cover the death of her other daughter, all for his son that he had with her. So yeah, that's the end of that story. I do think the motive, I understand that it's like he has the bad temper. Luke notoriously does. He's angry. He's like everything was taken away from him and he just wanted to help Luke. Luke deserved the company. But I still find it hard to believe that he would just like in a rage go kill Jet for that. I understand like it happened. It's not that it doesn't make sense. It just feels like a tad far-fetched to me. But I guess I did solve this murder in a way. I kind of wish that I came to tell you about it a bit sooner because I was suspecting Jack before the Jet going and talking to Luke thing, because I feel like that dropped a little too many crumbs. But Jet never actually figured it out, because Jet thought it was either Andrew or Lou, Nell's husband, that was Luke's father, and did not think it was Jack. So it's not like it was revealed before I figured it out. Like, it wasn't revealed, but I felt like I had a little bit too much evidence. So like, I'll take this as like a 50-50. I got there, but I wish I got there sooner. I wish my last guess was for Jack and not Beth. I feel like I was in between the two, and then I just went with Billy's mom, and it wasn't Billy's mom, because why would it be Billy's mom? She hasn't actually been in the book. That would have been a bit weird. But there we go. Solving crime. I think overall I'm going to give the book, I'm trying to decide between a 3.5 or a 4. I'm going to sit with it a little bit more, because I literally just finished it. Just because I feel like a couple of clues were a little obvious. The motive for Jack was like a little weak for me. But like overall, I thought it was like really fun, and it was well written, and it was a good time. So, you know, yay for another murder board done. If you happen to like this video, make sure to give it a like, get a little thumbs up. Happen like me, consider subscribing. I'd be happy to have you. Let me know down below, do you like watching me try to solve murders? Are there any other mystery books that you think I should try to solve on a wall? Let me know. And with that, I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.